joining me for another math lesson with Mr. Whitford. What I want to do today is this. We're going to continue to work on our math unit 2, working on the number system. But I want to look at multiplying and dividing fractions today. So if you're in the class and you have the packet in front of you, please feel free to open up to lesson 1.4, where we'll be talking about multiplying and dividing fractions. If not, on Google Classroom, feel free to click on the actual link on the Google Classroom page to be able to look on with us. All right, let's go. Now, as usual, what we end up doing, as you can see, we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing fractions. We're going to talk about how to discuss, how to put fractions in simplest form. And this is aligned with the actual standards of 7.NS.1. As usual, we end up doing for the bell work is I give you a few minutes to pause the video and try to see if you can complete what the bell work is. Now, in this case, it's just completing this phrase. When you divide fractions, the three things you must do are to blank, blank, blank. And as you can see, the first letter of each word is there for you. So pause the video if you need to and fill in this phrase, blank, blank, blank. All right, so I'm hoping that at this point you guys are looking at it saying, okay, well, when we divide fractions, I need to do what? I need to keep, change, flip. So that's our goal when you look at this. You should be thinking about, I need to keep, change, and flip. Now this is specific to when you divide fractions, not when you add or subtract, as in the previous lessons. When we add and subtract, we're looking for a common denominator. Here we're looking for to either, if we're dividing, in this case, we're going to keep the first fraction, change the symbol, and then flip the sign. All right. Now our goal for today is, yes, to deal with keep, change, flip, and as the vocabulary says, multiplying by the reciprocal, also sometimes called, referred to as keep, change, flip. And we're also going to be discussing, honestly, not multiples as mentioned there, but more along the lines of factors that can help us to be able to identify the least common denominator. Okay, so take a second, and that's really what we're going to be doing, least common denominator. Let's scroll down so I can show you exactly how to be successful in this lesson. Now, there is a warm-up here, and what I want to do is test your current knowledge, see if you can simplify these fractions. Now, if you remember, or if you want, you can pause the video right now and take a second to try your own before I give away the answers. Awesome. Now, for some of you, you're thinking, okay, I could do a number of different things to simplify these fractions. One method I'm actually going to write up here at the top, and I suggest you do it as well, is if you're using the TI-30XIIS, you could be able to simplify these fractions by putting them in your calculator. Now, Mr. Whitford, how do I put in fractions on the calculator? There's a couple different ways you can put it in the calculator. But my favorite, honestly, is recognizing that this fraction bar is the same as division. So if you remember that this fraction bar is division, the first thing I would recommend you do on your calculator is put in the number 16 divided by 24, hit enter. You're going to get a decimal. Let it give you the decimal that comes out, all right? And just to make sure I have the right decimal in front of me, let me give it to you as well. Right, and it should give you something along the lines of 0.66, and they keep going, right? And eventually your calculator does a 7 there, okay? So the 6's keep going until it turns into a 7. Now I wouldn't write this down, 0.666667, because that's not the same as what's in our calculator. It writes the 6, 2, 4, 6, 7, 7 times before it finally writes the number 7. But after you have your decimal, right, what I want you to do is I want you to hit these buttons on your calculator. Hit the second button, and I'm just going to draw me a nice second button here. Okay, and then hit PRB. And that's PRB. Now, right above the right underneath the PRB, you should see it says like D to F and F to D. Something along those lines, which is telling you it's going to turn from fraction to decimal or decimal to fraction is what we need. And when you hit enter again, if you hit enter now, enter, I'm just going to write the enter button, ENT. If you hit enter now, what ends up happening is you'll see that this becomes simplified in the smallest form possible. Right now, what is the smallest form in this case? It'll be okay, 2, and this is a 3. It'll become 2/3. Right now, why is it 2/3? Now, there's a couple different ways you can think about simplifying fractions. One way of thinking about simplifying fractions is writing out all the numbers that multiply to give you 16. So 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 3, no, 4 times 4. Right, so this number over here is 8. Let me try to write this 8 again, right? So we have 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. Those are the numbers 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and 4 times 4 are the numbers that give you 16. Now, if I write out the multiples for 24, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and because they're right next to each other, we know the number next to 4 and 6 is 5. So nothing times 5 is going to give you 24. But these are our numbers that multiply to give us 24. Now, when I look at these numbers, I'm going to say, okay, well, which one is the greatest common factor amongst them, or in this case, least common denominator? Let's say that. That's a lot better, right? That they both share. I'm really looking for the greatest factor that they both share, and that's why I really want to say that. But if you look at them, you'll notice, wow, 8 is here, 8 is here. That's the greatest one that they both have in common, this greatest common factor of 8. So since that's the one that I see they both have in common, I'm going to say, okay, well, I can divide both of these by 8. Divide that by 8, and also divide this by 8. 16 divided by 8, we do get 2. 24 divided by 8, we do get 3. Okay, and this is how we simplify a fraction. You can write out the list of what numbers multiply and see which one is the greatest they have in common. Notice they do have 4 in common, but I'm not using the 4s. I'm not using the 2s. I'm using 8 because it's the biggest one they both have in common. And when I go to simplify, when I go to divide by both of them by 8, it's going to give me this fraction in simplest form. Same thing if I go to B and I say, okay, well, let me write out the multiples of 33, right? 1 and 33. Right, 3 and 11. And I go down here, 1 and 55. And then 5 and 11. I see that they both have 11 as their greatest common factor. Yes, they both have 1, but I see this 11 here. So I'm going to say, oh, the 11 must be the one I need to divide by. I'm going to divide the numerator and the denominator because they both have these in common. Okay, and I end up getting 3 over 5. Okay. Now this is a practice for us to be able to simplify, but like I said to you before, you can always use your calculator to be able to simplify as we did above. Okay, let me fix this. I think I moved the screen by accident or something. Let me see. Not sure how I'm gonna fix that, but give me 1 second. All things can be fixed. It's just a matter of time. All right, all better. So let's look at the modeling on the bottom. The first one says 7 over 8 times 6 over 5. 7 over 8 times 6 over 5. Now this is multiplication, and honestly, this one is going to be a lot easier than when I go to B. The beauty about this one here is that we're going to multiply straight across. So when we think about multiplying fractions, they do not need to have a common denominator. All you think about here is I'm going to multiply the top, the numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So let me just do that piece by piece for you. So I'm going to say, okay, what is 7 times 6? And I'm going to get an answer. And then I'm going to say, what is 8 times 5? And I'm going to get an answer. Okay? So when I multiply this, 7 times 6, right, gives us our 42. And 8 times 5 gives us 40. So our answer is 42 over 40. The only problem is that I want these answers in simplest form. That's what I want. I want them in simplest form, which will tell me, okay, I need to figure out what is the greatest common factor that these two numbers have in common that I could divide them both by and break them down. Now, if you notice that they're both even, right, they're ending with 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, then you could divide by 2, but then you might have to divide by 2 again, and you might have to divide by 2 again, right? Or you could write out all the multiples of both of these numbers. Now, in this case here, I'm going to show you what it's like if you decide to go by 2, because believe it or not, 2 may very well be the actual greatest common factor that we want for both of them. When I divide both of these numbers by 2, I end up getting 21 over 20, which, believe it or not, this is in simplest form. So the answer is 21 over 20. Now, for some of you guys, you're like, well, Mr. Whitford, can I write that as 1 and 1/20th? Sure, you can. This is a mixed number. I'm okay with improper numbers because I'm okay. I think they're all right. But if you prefer to write it as a mixed number, that's perfectly fine with me. Any one of these answers here are perfectly okay. Okay. Now, let's go on to Model B. We have 8 over 16 divided by 5 over 8. Now, it's very custom to say, okay, well, let me go across, but that's not how we're going to do it here. Because division, it really looks something like this. 8 over 16 divided by, and this is where if you ever heard that complex fraction term, this is a complex fraction. But truthfully, this is exactly what it looks like. 8 over 16 divided by 5 over 8, right? So we have these fractions divided by a fraction situation. This is a demand to say, okay, let's do keep, change, flip. Now, what do we mean by keep, change, flip? I'll show you right now. So what do we mean? The first step, let's talk about keep. Oh, I meant to try to draw a box around that, but I see that that's not what happened. So let me just undo the writing, okay, for both of these. That way it's out of the way, okay? And one more. All right. So when I think about keep, change, flip, I'm thinking, okay, let's keep the first fraction. Keep it exactly what it is. Keep it as 8 over 16. Don't change it. Keep, that's K. Okay. Change. We are going to change this division sign to its inverse. What is the inverse of division? You got it. Multiplication. And then finally, the word flip, right? The word flip here is an indication that we're actually going to flip this fraction and turn it into its additive inverse, or in this case, it's reciprocal. That's what I'm looking for, the word. The reciprocal of 5 over 8, we're going to turn it to 8 over 5. Okay. Now that we have it like this, guess what we have? We have a multiplication problem. And we can say, okay, since it's a multiplication problem, let's aim to it just like we did before. We're going to do the numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. Okay? We're going to do numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. Now, when we do this, we end up getting 64 over 80. Could you say, well, that's our answer. That's it. We need to remember to simplify. We need to remember to simplify, and that could be as simple as us writing out all the factors. For example, let me write out the factors here as another way just to make sure people understand there is multiple ways to do this. I would say, okay, well, 1 and 64. Let's write 64 over here. 2 and 32. Okay, let me try to clean up that 3. Okay, 2 and 32. Okay, 3, no. 4 works. 4. 16. Okay. 5, nope, 5 doesn't work. 6. 6. Does 6 work? Yes. No, let me see. Let me think of this. No, 6 doesn't work. It was close, but it doesn't. 7, no, 7 doesn't work. 8 does work. We know 8 works. 8 times 8. So these are our factors for 64. And we can do the same thing for 80. 1 and 80. 2 and 40, right? 4 and 20. Okay. 5, yeah, 5 works. 5 and 16. Right, 7, no. 8, we know works. 8 and 10. So that's the numbers right there. That would be all of them. And once again, we would look and say, okay, I see 16 here. Right, and I also see 16 down here. Okay. That's what we end up doing. So now we say, okay, let's divide both of these by 16. Divide them both by 16. Okay. What we end up getting when we divide both of these by 16 is we get 4 over 5. Okay, nope, sorry. Just 4 over 5, okay? So we end up getting 4 over 5. Sorry, glitch there. Not sure what started happening. I think my pen likes me that much today. Okay, so that's it. What I want you to do is multiply, and you're multiplying numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. And for dividing, you're going to use keep, change, flip to keep the first fraction, change the division and multiplication, and change the last fraction to its reciprocal. And then you operate like you're multiplying straight across. Okay, don't forget to simplify your fractions. All right, and you can use the technique that I showed you before regarding simplifying from the calculator, or you can use this one down here. Either one that you decide to use is perfectly fine. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Until next time, have a wonderful day.